Good morning, Year 3. In this part of the story, we're going to find out more about where the borrowers lived in a big old house where Mrs. May's little brother was recovering from his long illness. Under this passage, in the hall below, there was a clock. Through the night, my little brother would hear it strike the hours. It was a grandfather clock and very old. Mr. Frith of Leighton Buzzard came each month to wind it, as his father had come before him and his great-uncle before that. For 80 years, they said, it had not stopped, and as far as anyone could tell, for as many years before that. The great thing was that it must never be moved. It stood against the skirting board, and the stone pavings around it had been washed so often that a little platform, my brother said, rose up inside. And under this clock, below the skirting board, there was a hole. It was Pod's hole, the keep of his fortress, the entrance to his home. Not that his home was anywhere near the clock, far from it, as you might say. There were yards of dark and dusty passageway, with wooden doors between the joists and metal gates against the mice. Pod used all kinds of things for these gates: a flat leaf of a folding cheese grater, the hinged lid of a small cash box, squares of pierced metal from an old meat safe, a wire fly swatter. Not that I'm afraid of mice, his wife Homily would say, but I can't abide the smell. In vain his daughter Arrietty had begged for a little mouse of her own, a little blind mouse to bring up by hand as a pet, like Eglantine had had. But Homily would bang with the pan lids and exclaim, "And look what happened to Eglantine!" "What?" Arrietty would ask. What did happen to Eglantine? But no one would ever say. It was only Pod who knew the way through the intersecting passages to the hole under the clock, and only Pod could open the gates. There were complicated clasps made of hair slides and safety pins, of which Pod alone knew the secret. His wife and child led more sheltered lives in home-like apartments under the kitchen, far removed from the risks and dangers of the dreaded house above. But there was a grating in the brick wall of the house, just below the floor level of the kitchen above, through which Arrietty could see the garden, a piece of gravelled path, and a bank where crocus bloomed in spring, where blossom drifted from an unseen tree, and where later an azalea bush would flower, and where birds came, and pecked and flirted and sometimes fought. "The hours you waste on them birds," Homily would say, "and when there's a little job to be done, you can never find the time. I was brought up in a house," Homily went on, "where there wasn't no grating, and we were all the happier for it. Now go off and get me the potato." That was the day when Arrietty, rolling the potato before her from the storehouse down the dusty lane under the floorboards, kicked it ill-temperedly, so that it rolled rather fast into their kitchen, where Homily was stooping over the stove. "There you go again!" exclaimed Homily, turning angrily. "Nearly pushed me into the soup. And when I say potato, I don't mean the whole potato. Take the scissor, can't you, and cut off a slice." "Didn't know how much you wanted," Arrietty had mumbled, as Homily, snorting and sniffing, unhooked the scissor blade and half handle of a pair of manicure scissors from a nail on the wall, and began to cut through the peel. "You've ruined this potato," she grumbled. "You can't roll it back now in all that dust, not once it's been cut open." "Oh, what does it matter?" said Arrietty. "There are plenty more." "That's a nice way to talk. Plenty more. Do you realise," Homily went on gravely, laying down the half-nail scissor, "that your poor father risks his life every time he borrows a potato?" "I meant," said Arrietty, "that there are plenty more in the storeroom." "Well, out of my way now," said Homily, bustling around again. "Whatever you meant, and let me get the supper." We'll find out a little bit more about the inside of the borrower's house tomorrow.